On October 1958, a physicist by the name of William Higginbotham created what is believed to be the first draft of a tennis game that would soon become the popular video game known as Pong. And from that game, a plethora of diverse and even more complex games emerged. I think the last thing a parent would ever want to hear is that their kid had gotten smarter while playing video games. However, there is some truth to that statement. Some games were strictly made for educational purposes, primarily challenging their critical thinking and sharpening their reflexes while simultaneously keeping the player engaged and entertained. Games can also improve one's social skills, even help acquire long-lasting friendships. I myself have made friends while raging in a Call of Duty Search and Destroy lobby. But how about making someone wiser? Perhaps more insightful? More understanding, empathetic? I'm not here to tell you how video games turned me into an Ivy League genius or an engineering billionaire, because it hasn't. I'm only here to share my experience on how a single game not only blew my socks off by the experience of the gameplay, but also has given me insight and has helped me mend my relationship with my very own father. And that game is no other than God of War 4. Now, this may be a no-brainer for those of you who've actually played the game. It's the obvious choice for my point, but for those who haven't, let me explain. God of War 4 takes place in Midgard, aka Earth, where our main character Kratos is seen preparing a large ceremonial pyre for the funeral of his beloved wife, Faye, who has passed away, leaving him and their child Atreus behind to mourn her death and spread her ashes at the top of the highest point in all the 9 realms as her final wish. Along the way, they face all sorts of threats and dangers while also struggling with the fact that Atreus is too young to be sent on a man's mission, and Kratos is too old and battle-worn for the trip. However, they have no choice due to the fact that the gods of this realm have located their home, making it no longer safe. Now, growing up as a kid, you never think about how big the world truly is. You're so busy and focused on what's immediately around you, always being told what to do, what to learn, and who to meet. You could imagine it and have an idea of what it could be, but how can you truly take in account of everything that goes on and everyone in it? The answer is you can't. And it takes what feels like forever to realize that. It happens to everyone, and that's what happened to me. First thing you do is that you look for your parents to address every single thought and concern you may have, which is natural. I mean, they've dictated how you live your life ever since you were born. So that's what I did. I finally got to the point where I started thinking about my place in the world and where I could fulfill my purpose and be the happiest while doing so. The uncertainty would keep me up at night and would make me anxious, so I would go to my father for answers, but all I got were the same directions that he's given me since I was a boy that led me down the path that worked best for him. I expected that he had life figured out and knew exactly what I needed to do to survive and make it as an individual. However, what you come to realize is that they don't have the answers for everything. They're just human. Atreus follows a similar journey. A god who believes himself to be a mortal boy, due to an illness, finds himself getting sicker and sicker as the game progresses. He's been told he was born a man and will die as a man. However, that is not true. He was told this because Kratos feared the life of godlyhood his son had coming ahead of him. Even to say when he finally reveals to him his true nature,
I had hoped to spare you. Being a god, it can be a lifetime of anguish and tragedy.
Kratos only experiencing the lows of his godhood led to him raising his son more defensive and became overprotective. He chose to leave out how he single-handedly wiped out all of the Greek gods and how he killed his father Zeus with his bare hands to be able to shield him from what his life could be. Kratos, a battle-tested Spartan general that knows much about the complexities of war and the duties of a soldier, becomes the god of war. Since birth, all he's ever known is violence and how to use that violence to fight for what he believes in, which is a reoccurring theme. However, how does one with that blood-stained of a background acclimate to peace? He makes his way into a new world, different from his original home that is drenched with the blood of the Greek pantheon he left behind, and started anew, living his life as a mortal man. And now he's single-handedly raising his son, a god, and is utilizing all of his knowledge and experiences that only relate to his previously violent life, putting his choices and mistakes to use with the hopes to prepare his son for the rocky road up ahead. He is stubborn and stern, practically raises his son as if he were another soldier in his unit, making him capable to hunt and able to defend himself from the unknown chaos of the real world, striving in making Atreus the best man he could possibly be. However, it didn't fully prepare him for what life could be, to be able to view the world in a different light and not use their godlyhood for violence and destruction and personal gain, but rather to help others and make their home a better place, handling foreign and domestic affairs using a diplomatic approach. In my opinion, they both were learning this together as they sneaked their way into Jotunheim, the tallest point in all of 9 realms. Playing as Kratos on this beautiful journey forced me to see things from his perspective, a father's perspective, which led me to empathize with my very own father. While putting aside our fundamental differences over how he chose to raise his children, I understand. He chose to be stubborn and stern so that I wouldn't repeat the same mistakes that he made while growing up. In his eyes, he was only using the cards that were at his disposal to make sure I could survive the complexities and chaos of the real world, forging me into the best man that I could possibly be. All because he cares. He was overprotective over his only son. As a result, I started to speak to him more, talked out his train of thought. He started acknowledging that I was open to hear him out, and in return, was open to hear me out. At times, he will go out of his way to ask me for advice and opinions, and honestly, it's been great to have this social outlet. With that being said, we still don't agree on everything. However, a dialogue is always an option, and sometimes we're actually able to come to a conclusion and be swayed by the other's argument. How can I not respect and love someone who's brave enough to take that chance? Funny enough, that's what happens to our 2 main characters. By the end, Kratos finally comes clean over his dark past and is able to let Atreus think for himself, utilizing this information to actually make the choice.
You will be the gods we choose to be, not those who have been.
Be the gods who they choose to be, not those who have been. Thus ending the cycle and beginning a new path towards change. Or should I say Ragnarok.
We will make our own destiny.
Please like and subscribe.